So Bill Browder, is an investor and human rights activist. He was the largest foreign investor in Russia until 2005 and led a global push to get the Magnitsky Act passed in the US and many other countries targeting Russian officials. And he joins us live now. Welcome to the News Hour on TRT World. It's such a pivotal day in Brussels. How are you viewing the opposition coming from Brussels itself and also Hungary?
Well, the opposition that's coming from the Prime Minister of Belgium is, as I understand, not just driven by legal arguments. He's made arguments saying that he wants the rest of Europe to bear the burden if there's any trouble. And of course, that's a very reasonable argument. But there was a report today that said that he had been personally threatened, perhaps with assassination by the Kremlin if he approved this measure. And so we are really in uncharted territory here to have a head of state who's involved in a major important policy decision being personally threatened. And it raises all sorts of grave questions about how policy can be made with these types of threats. And so my suspicion, based on everything I've heard, is that a decision will be made, a positive decision will be made today. And the reason I believe that is because the consequence of not making that decision, the consequence of saying Ukraine will run out of money, is absolutely devastating for Europe. What that will mean is that Ukraine will lose the war. It means that Ukraine there'll be 20 million Ukrainian refugees flowing out across Europe, and it means that Europeans will be fighting Russia on the front line and dying. And of course, we've seen comments coming from Donald Tusk saying the same thing.
So you're confident that there will be a positive result coming out of Brussels this evening, or maybe in the early hours of tomorrow, to use frozen Russian assets? What will that mean for Ukraine's war, and also what sort of Russian retaliation could we see?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the retaliation. Russia has threatened to retaliate when the West was going to provide helmets, and then they said they would retaliate if the West provided tanks, and then they said they would retaliate if the West supplied long-range missiles. That they go huffing and puffing at every different step of the way. I'm sure Russia will do certain things, but it's not as if we keep $300 billion of our money at the Russian central bank. It's the retaliation will be perhaps to expropriate more assets from Western companies in Russia, but they've already started doing that anyways. The retaliation is already ongoing in the sense that Russia is conducting a hybrid war in Europe. They're digging up internet cables in the Baltics. They're sending drones, suicide drones into Poland and all sorts of other nasty things. And so what this means for Ukraine, though, is it means that Ukraine will be able to continue to defend themselves, continue to attack Russian economic targets, and then perhaps at some point, at the point where it makes sense for Ukraine to negotiate an honest and fair peace deal, as opposed to one being shoved down its throat right now by President Trump.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sir William Browder, speaking to us there live from London. Thank you very much indeed for your insights and your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.